countdown. That was
Yeah.
cool.
There's a lot of, like, fun things about my husband, figured all of the te I'm not good at tech, could you tell? So he picked it out, and I've liked it so far. It's been kind of finicky today, but hopefully it gets us through this interview because 'cause I'm really excited to talk to you and get to know you better.
Well,
Um,
let's do it.
okay, do you want to just do a brief introduction? I know probably everyone here knows who you are, but if you wanna do a brief introduction for maybe some new people coming in?
Sure. Although I feel like you should get the first seat because this is your event, you're hosting it. So why don't you tell us what we're here for, and then I'll be happy to take it away. But I don't want to steal your spotlight.
You're so sweet. The spotlight is on you today. I'm
Ha!
like, I wanna know about you. My name is Beth with Goody Goods, and I have a series called Meet the Makers. So my goal is to gather creators, quilters, people who have quilt stores, YouTubes, all the things, and get to know them better and let the community know them better because I feel like you don't see a lot of who people are, and maybe you have 1,000 questions you want to ask them yourself. So I gathered 1,000 questions that I would like to know about people, and I am just so happy that you agreed to be on here today with me, and I get to ask you these questions today. So thank you for spending time with me today and agreeing to do
Yeah.
this.
Oh, I will reserve the you're welcome until after I hear the questions.
None of them are spicy. They're just nice quilty questions.
Sure. I will tell you when I'm nervous around new people, I have a tendency to talk a lot. So feel free to jump in and be like, okay, let's put a pin in that and move on. So shut me up if you need to.
No, please do. This is what that's all about. I am not a journalist, so I just want to put that out there. My husband helped me because I was doing a lot of like yes, no questions. He's like, make it open ended. Let them talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're so right. So the goal is to have you talk. So talk as much as you want because
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
nervous as well. You and I are new to each other, so we can be nervous with each other and get through it together.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
So,
So
where do we start?
Number one, what is your first quilt related memory or experience?
Ooh, my first quilt related memory. Well, I will be honest with you. I grew up in a family with no quilters. I guess the right term is first generation quilter. And I knew of people that would have quilts, but that always felt like an old lady thing. And it was something that I never wanted to do. So I like to tell the story about how I got into the world of quilting. And it was really a path of no, I will nevers that led me to a yes, I will always. It's I tried a lot of different creative outlets. I love to do creative things. I tried many of them. I tried knitting, don't really do much with it. I even tried crochet before my recent journey with it, and I was never going to. But all along, I would hear people say, "You should try to sew," and I kept saying, no, never." And eventually, I dabbled with it, and I tinkered around for about a year before I eventually quit telling people I would never make a quilt. My mom had made a quilt before. I was not part of that, but it was only one time, and it was a very, very beginner friendly quilt that she made out of my grandma's old bed sheets, and it was years ago. She mentioned that I should try doing some quilting, so I had gone we had made blankets for all the kids for Christmas one year, and we bought panels with, like, Disney characters on them, and we did the thing where you put the batting and the 2 layers together and you do a pillowcase turn and then you just stitch around the edge to close it. And she was
Oh,
like, "Wouldn't it be great if you, like, used your sewing machine to draw around the shapes that were on the quilt?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it would." So with my feed dogs up and my presser foot down, I did free motion quilting, and I didn't even know that that was a thing on it. I just enjoyed my time, and I didn't even know that it could be easier than that. So that's kind of how I got started quilting. I enjoyed making those blankets, and so then I decided to make a rag quilt. And from the rag quilt, I decided I really wanted to learn a little bit more about this whole world of quilting. I took a quilt class at my local quilt shop.
oh wow, that's awesome. And then from then
Yeah.
on, you've never had like a gap. You just keep going.
No, yeah, like, I think we all have gaps in our creative journeys, whether it's quilting or sewing or whatever it is. Weight loss, I just struggled with that the past month or so. We all have journeys where we put a pause on things, right? I feel like over the past 6 weeks or so, I have had a gap in the world of quilting where I just needed to kind of put a pause on piecing and quilting. It's something I want to do, but it's just not something I had time to do. But I'm starting to get some of my mojo back. So I won't say I've had any like big gaps, but there's definitely been seasons or short periods of time where I've not been able to create or not wanted to create, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, for the most part, it's just been like onward and upward.
Well, you've had a lot going on recently too with moving and, your mom and, just trying to get everything going. You do a lot at once. So I feel like that you have to have
Yeah,
those so you don't get burnt out and just stop completely. I agree with you.
absolutely.
It's healthy to take breaks.
Yep,
um,
it is.
how, so I guess you already covered how did you learn? So you went to a class. Did you do any YouTube Academy? Did you learn from other people on YouTube?
Always, and I still do. So when I started sewing, before I even started making a quilt, I think we all have the same journey that we watch Jenny Doan all the time. I did, and I still do. But for a while, for a long while, every Friday morning, I would wake up, and the first thing I would do before I would even go to the bathroom or do anything, I would go straight to Missouri Star's YouTube channel and I would watch her Jenny Doan's 15-minute tutorial. And some mornings I was tired, so I'd have to watch it twice. But she was so kind and so she just made it seem like these really complicated things could be broken down and I could do them too. And so from her channel, I started looking for other quilters, other content creators that were doing creative things. Started watching Crafty Gemini. I started watching Sarah Lawson with So Sweetness. I started watching Fat Quarter Shops tutorials. All of these other content creators were making things. And I just realized I just scratched the surface with Jenny Doan and it just got me into this whole other realm. Lots of
Did
creators
that
teaching out there.
inspire you to create your YouTube channel? What got you into being a YouTube quilter
S-
creator?
So honestly, I have always had a passion for sharing knowledge. When I learn something, I get excited about it and I want to tell everybody about that thing. And okay, so no judgment zone, but this is really what happened. When I started sewing, a friend of mine who lives in the area taught me a few things. And after I went to her house, we did a sewing session that night. That weekend, I was hooked. I bought a sewing machine, I bought some fabric, some thread, and I was off and running. But I was determined I was going to teach this to my friends and family. And so I went and bought my sister-in-law a sewing machine. Within the space of about a year, I bought my sister-in-law a sewing machine. I bought my mom a sewing machine. I bought both of my sisters a sewing machine. I was advocating for my friends to buy sewing machines. And I thought, you know, I bet they're going to need to know how to change the needle on their machine. And so I'm going to go make a video on how to change a needle. And that's what I did. And I took it with my phone, no fancy equipment. I didn't even have a tripod for the camera, I don't think. And I just recorded changing the needle in the machine, little 4 or 5 minute video, and I uploaded it. And I kind of always had it in the back of my head. That was like 2016, 2017. I always had it in the back of my head that I wanted to make more YouTube videos. I wanted to teach, but I didn't know what to teach. And I certainly didn't feel like I was Jenny Doan or Kimberly Jolly or any of those. So I didn't feel like I had the authority to share any of that, but I knew I wanted to do something on a social media platform like this. Um, Fast forward about 2 or 3 years, that video on a little channel that had 2 subscribers had like 50,000 views. Well,
Wow.
maybe it was 30. People were watching it. So there was an appetite for something simple and bite sized like that. Because in my world, what YouTube was back then was I need a quick answer to a problem and I need it to be visual to teach me something. So that's how I was using it. So I thought I would start doing some of those. I also noticed there were some channels out there that were doing unboxing videos, and I was using them to live vicariously through some of those unboxing videos. So I got Jenny Doan's countdown to Christmas, or I think she called it favorite things back in 2018, and I did a daily 30-second, 1 minute max little video, which now I guess they're called shorts on my channel for that Christmas season in 2018. And from there, I kind of kept growing. The idea was always to share my excitement, my passion, and my knowledge with people, but never to be in a position where I felt like I knew more than anybody else, because I don't. I think it's a give and take. I think maybe there are people that I am teaching, but I think I'm learning from the community that we're building as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that mindset too because I don't know, I feel like it's authentic to who you are, and like you were saying, you didn't know if you had the authority compared to all the other people, but you're you. So like when I was deciding on do I want to make a YouTube, everyone was like, "You're you. You have your own thing that you can bring to the table." And like you
Yeah.
said, it's a community of give and take, and we all kind of lean on each other. So I think that's really beautiful. Beautifully said.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing too. And I have to tell myself this, so this is probably more a message for me, but if anybody out there is on the fence about creating a YouTube channel, or maybe you have a small one or a big one and you're not really sure what content to put out there, one of the things that I really struggle with is if somebody's already done the content, do I need to do that content again? And I've heard several folks in the community, Teresa Louise has mentioned this a couple of times too. It's not always about whether or not the content exists, rather, do people want to hear that content from you? So, sure, somebody may have a video on how to do rotary cutting. That's great. Somebody might have a video on how to square up a block, and that's great. But you may have a technique, or the way you may explain, or the words that you might use might click for somebody else just a little bit more. So don't let the fact that somebody else has done that type of content take you away from putting something out there. Feel free to be authentic and share what you want to share. It's an open platform and we're all here to support one another, and your content's going to speak more to somebody than maybe mine would.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. I'm glad that you are on YouTube because it's just nice to have genuine people, and I feel like the quilting community is full of just good people. So I'm glad
I
that
agree.
you took the leap and you're here because I watch a lot of your videos and I've enjoyed
Oh, thank
watching
you.
even your recent crochet. I think it's just so fun to watch all of your journeys that you share with us because you're sharing your life. You know, this is a big part of your life. I think that's really cool. Um, let's see. What is your favorite thing about quilting?
Oh, I mean, there's so many. Do you mean like my favorite part of the process, or my favorite thing that it does for me? Or
Your
both,
favorite
I guess.
thing, I mean, you can do both, yeah, whatever. Whatever
So
that
the fa-
question leads you.
So the favorite thing that I have that I love about quilting is what it does for me. Quilting is a way that allows me to connect with other people, even, well, I guess that would be more of a YouTube thing, but quilting is a way that allows me to connect with other people who are like-minded. I feel like quilters are givers, and that is a part of my life that's always been a big part of my life, and it allows me to plug in with people that are just like that. As far as in the process of quilting, my favorite part is really quilting, like the actual quilting. Once a quilt's loaded on my long arm and being able to do some free motion quilting on it, that there's nothing that can beat that. I love doing that. I just don't get to do it that often.
That sounds fun, it's like fabric doodling. You're just
Yeah,
drawing with thread. How could that not be fun? That's so fun. I would love to have a
that
long
is
arm play around all
That
day.
is exactly what it is, and I think that's exactly why I love it. So one of the things that I used to do growing up, my mom and I would have dry erase boards. We would doodle. I would doodle all the time, but there was a period of my life where I would sit with her and watch Days of Our Lives, and we would have like one of those 12 by 18 dry erase boards, and we would just doodle back and forth during the entire hour, and I would draw stupid stuff all the time. I am not an artist. I cannot draw, but I love to doodle, and I think that's why the free motion quilting speaks to me, because it's basically thread doodles, right?
Yeah, that's so fun. So are you a soap opera fan still to this day?
No, and
No?
I wasn't then either, but it was a way to spend time with my mom. So I remember something about, like, yeah, I couldn't even tell you any of the characters that were on it. So
Just drama.
It was just drama. No, if I'm gonna watch a drama, I'd rather watch one of those reality life shows, and I want it to be something that is so far-fetched that I would
Mhm.
never do, and it's usually because I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" Like, the Sister Wives shows and stuff like that. I couldn't do that. I'm not
No.
telling you not to, but I look at it, I'm like, "This makes no sense to me."
Yeah. I like watching the Real Housewives. I'm like, "Wow, I feel so much better about living in Kansas, living a small life. This is
Yeah.
great."
The Hoarders is the one that does it for me. Hoarders makes me feel real good about
I
myself.
know. Well, it makes me feel good, but also slightly alarmed at my growing fabric stash. I'm like, is my family gonna be digging me out of my sewing area in a couple years? Maybe.
Well, so it makes me feel real good about myself, but it also, if I watch, I think it's like 4 or 5, if I'm binge watching them, when I get to, like, episode number 4 or 5, I just wanna clean.
Yeah, it's a good motivator. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go down to like the most random part of my house and just purge everything. That's
Mhm.
so funny. What is your quilting style? Is it traditional, modern,
Hmm.
mix of both? How would you classify yourself as a quilter?
I don't know what the definitions of classic, modern, I don't know what any of them are. I like what I like, and I make what I like. I will tell you I like brighter colors. I don't really like 30s colors. I don't like anything dark, earth tony. Um, I like negative space to a degree, so maybe a little bit of modern, but I also like some of the traditional blocks. So I think I have a blend of both. I know for fabric, I prefer more current fabric, more modern, I guess, like
Yeah.
colors. I don't like reproductions and I don't like Civil War colors.
Who are your favorite fabric designers?
Oh, I could list them all off. And this
Go
maybe this makes me a fabric snob, I don't know. I try not to be, but Lalo Boutique is definitely position number 1. There's only been one line that I've seen from hers that I just don't like, and that was that smoke and rust line.
Mhm.
Although I'll look back at it and think, "Okay, well, I can see where she was going with this, and I can appreciate the look that she was going for." But I'm not a big brown fan, I'm not a big yellow fan, and she had that rust color in there that was, like, right in the part of my cycle. But every other line that she's put out, I've loved. In fact, she did, a line called Harvest Road a few years ago where she had deviated from the aquas and the pinks and the blues that she had been doing, and it was more like my take on it was like Lella Boutique does fall. And it was like her same type of prints, but like in really pretty, like a darker blue and a little bit of a brown and like a little bit of an autumn green. And I really enjoyed that line. So she's definitely at the top of my list.
I love her. Christmas morning,
Yes.
all-time
Yeah.
fabric for Christmas. I
Yep.
stocked up like crazy because 'cause I'm like, "If this goes out of print, I'm not gonna pay an arm and a leg for it, so I'm just gonna be ridiculous and keep buying that, background fabric where it was like dove, it was
Mhm.
like white, that gray. Oh my gosh, and her style of roses, her florals are just so unique to her. So I love
Yep.
that she's your top because her Christmas morning fabric. Oh, I mean, all of them are beautiful, but that is like my all-time favorite Christmas fabric. I'm a snob when it comes to Christmas stuff, but everything else I'm like, okay, I like this, I like that, I like this. um,
See, and
do you
that's
have
the
any?
beauty of the quilt. That's the beauty of the quilting world, though, is
Yeah,
there's so much fabric out there. You can always find something to create with, no matter what your budget is or what your taste is. If you don't have a lot of money or on a very small quilting budget, there are plenty of places where you can get fabric very
yeah,
affordably. If you've got all the money in the world, you can buy all of the designer fabric that you want. And depending
yeah.
on what your tastes are, your color preferences are, there's something for everybody.
Yeah, I didn't buy designer fabric for like 2 years. I was just
Me either.
making Joann and Walmart fabric, and the thing about Joann is coupons. I love
Oh,
coupons, and then I like stacking coupons. So
yep.
when the pandemic happened, they were starting to do that 20% off curbside pickup, and you could still put other coupons on top of that. And I'm like, okay, this might be good because I was going to Joann all the time. So you don't have to
Same.
get the designer stuff. You can get a lot of, and even at Joann's, they were carrying like Alexander Henry and,
Mhm.
you know, they have their own designer section that's still
Yep.
affordable because you can use coupons. I don't think a lot of quilt stores use coupons, or not at least near here.
Yeah, that
um,
same thing.
do you have any other hobbies or interests outside of quilting?
Well, I do like to dabble with portable projects, things that I can work on when I'm not sitting in my studio. The one bad thing about what I do is that I'm kind of tethered to this spot. So I can't pick up my machine and my quilt, my long arm, and go in the front room and quilt. So I like to find occasionally projects that I can carry with me. And right now, what I have been focusing on is crochet. I never thought I would want to do this, but I secretly may be obsessed. And this is a new thing for me. There are a few other things though that I would like to be able to try. I've always wanted to try my hand at embroidery, like hand embroidery.
Mhm.
So that's something that's out there. I do dabble once in a while with a little bit of sashiko, but I don't really do that too much. So
What's
honestly,
that?
I don't have a oh, sashiko's great, and I don't have any because
Oh,
I just gave my mom all the kits.
is that a is that a sewing machine or is that not
It
satin,
is there.
right?
There
Is it?
is a sewing machine by Baby Lock called the Sashiko, or there was at least.
Yeah.
But what Sashiko is you have this piece of fabric. It's a Japanese art,
Mhm.
and they have a print drawn on the fabric square, and you take needle and thread, and you basically just trace over the stitched lines with your own hand stitching. So do you remember like in elementary school, maybe you had those boards where you would practice the
Yeah.
idea of weaving? Same type of thing, only you
Wow.
actually make a design out of it.
That's really cool because it's different from embroidery, and I feel like
Yes.
embroidery is super, super frustrating for me. So that sounds like something a lot better because it's just one. That sounds really fun. I'm
Yep.
gonna have to look into that. I've never heard of that. That's really cool.
It's it's really soothing and you don't need a whole lot of stuff to do it. You take your design, maybe a hoop if you want to keep the fabric a little bit more manageable,
Yeah.
and just a small skein of embroidery floss and a needle, and you just go. My mom has picked it up because she tried. We were doing count and cross stitch for a little while, but I haven't touched that in a long time. She was doing crochet for a while, and then she discovered this, and she's been knocking these out. So she stole all of my sashiko kits, and now I need to go buy some more.
So now you're stuck with crochet and you're loving
I'm
it
all
though.
stuck with crochet. I do. I genuinely like playing with the yarn, and I actually now have a proper stash of 5 skeins of yarn. Little skeins, but
Oh, those
I
are
do
so
have a little.
cute.
They're
I
cute.
love
They are.
those.
Yep,
What colors
they're
do you
really
have
cute.
in there? I would love to see your color palette for yarn. Is it similar to your fabric choices or is it a little bit different? It's pretty
No,
much.
it's pretty similar. It's pretty
That's
similar.
so cute.
I mean, I like the aquas. These are just cotton yarn. This is one that I actually bought a little while ago, and I'm trying to work on a project from it, but it's a big cake. Got
I
some
can't
grays in
believe
there.
how far you've come. And I feel like it was just a few weeks ago that you were live trying to figure it out with your sister. And here
Yep,
you are with
yep,
yarn stash growing.
yep. 5 skein. Oh wait, I have 6. I have
Dun, dun,
5
dun.
little ones. Yeah,
Hold
I
on.
have
I'm
5
going to
little ones
call
plus a big one.
hoarders on TLC. Hello? I'm worried about my fabric.
No, don't send them. I'm not getting rid of my fabric or my yarn.
That's so funny. Let's see. I'm gonna look down my questions.
Sure.
What are your favorite quilts that you've made in the past, and what are you wanting to make in the future?
Oh my gosh, I want to make all of the quilts. Um, My very favorite quilt that I've made, and I think I have seasons where I love this one more than the other one, but the one that I am most proud of right now is the quilt that I made from the Corey Yoder Springbrook Blossoms Block of the Month that she did last year. I stepped outside of what I think most people were going to do or what she had done. I didn't use her fabric to make that quilt pattern. I cut into a very cherished fat quarter bundle of that ombre fairy dust by V& Co. for Moda. gorgeous fabric, and I let the ombre, the gradient of the color in the fabric, add the motion and the texture to the quilt. So that's the one that I'm most proud of. It's I pieced it. Every single block I pieced on a live stream. I put it together, I quilted it, and I bound it, and I sleep with it every night.
That's good. So your quilts are well loved. Are you someone that folds up your quilts and puts them away, or do you use them?
I
You're
make quilts to be used.
good. Okay, good.
Yep.
We can be friends then because I wear mine to the ground, and I'm glad because that's the reason why my husband got me a sewing machine because I was complaining that my quilt had a hole in it. And I was like, I wish I could fix it. I wish I could fix it so I could keep using it. He was like, well, here you go. Here's a sewing machine. And now I can fix all the ones that I wear, or I call them wearing. I mean, I guess you're not really wearing. And I can like wrap up in it and walk around and be completely happy, but I'm
Same,
glad you're a
right?
quilt user. I don't understand. I mean, I understand like keepsakes and cherished quilts that maybe are just too delicate to be used, but if you whip out a quilt, why not snuggle with it like every single night, every
Absolutely.
single day? I love that. Um,
100%.
what is your favorite kind of quilt block?
I love a star. I love a star block. I love a star block. I don't know why. I think most of us do. But I really also like it when I think I can appreciate all of them. I like a star block, but I also really like it when you do like I like foundation paper piecing to achieve things that you can't do from traditional piecing. So if I can make the block relatively easy, just standard piecing, I'd rather just do it that way.
Yeah.
But there's so much that you can do with foundation paper piecing that you just can't do traditional piecing. So I appreciate those. I'm not great at it. I'm not an expert, but I do enjoy a little bit of time dabbling in that. But then I also appreciate like embroidery and applique, and those are gorgeous too. So I think I love them all equally.
Sorry, I'm trying to you can't hear that, can you?
No, can't hear
Okay,
anything.
people, there we go. I so how long have you tried foundation paper piecing? How long have you been doing that?
I've tried it. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not an expert, and I haven't really taught anybody how to do it. I don't dabble with it a lot on my channel. I feel like there's a lot of creators out there that do it. Um, I don't do it on the daily, so
Yeah.
I don't wanna represent myself as an expert there. I just can appreciate what you can do with it and
Yeah.
occasionally like to dabble in it.
Well, I like that. Is
Yeah,
there a specific type of star? Because I know, aren't there? I mean, there's the sawtooth, the
all of
carpenter.
them,
There one that you're
all of
like,
them.
oh, all of them.
Nope. I don't have a favorite quilt block. I don't. I think what it is with the stars is I really enjoy when you get to see the points because you didn't
Yeah.
cut it off.
Or sew them into the seat. That I never get
Mhm.
points, so that's
I
why I
think yeah.
that's why I need paper piecing because I'm terrible at doing points on stars with traditional piecing. I need to practice some more. I've gotten a bit rusty on it.
Yeah, there there is, definitely a lot of things that you can use foundation paper piecing for to make some of those traditional blocks. If you are somebody that struggles with your points and you always want them to be perfect, that can definitely help you with it. But if I had figured out a way to not cut off too much of my point using traditional piecing, I will go traditional route over
Yeah.
FPP route.
Are there any techniques that you want to try within quilting? Like
Oh,
collaging, stuff like that?
yeah. So I do want to try a collage quilt. I bought a Laura Heine, I'm not even sure if that's how you pronounce her name. I bought a Laura Heine pattern that I'm really excited about, but I'm intimidated at the cutting of the fabric
Yeah.
because you've gotta cut out, like, all the little designs on your fabric.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like color selection too would be so hard. You look at the collage quilting and you're like, how do they get that depth? And they have so many things going on in it. It's like a giant
Yep,
puzzle. That'd be a really
yep.
fun thing to learn. Um, let's see. What are your long-term goals within quilting or
Mm.
YouTube or crochet? Do you have any long-term goals?
Honestly, I don't. I'm just enjoying what I'm doing now. I'm just enjoying bringing content while I like it. Like, I've always said, and this is true of every aspect of my life, YouTube, quilting, crocheting. Life is too short to do things that you don't like to do. If you're spending time and energy doing something and you don't like doing it and it's not doing anything for you, then don't spend your time doing it. So I'm just focusing on the here and now, being in the moment. I enjoy making content. I have been making it for a little while. I don't see any plans to stop. I enjoy quilting. I like what I'm making now, and I don't see any plans to stop. But I'm not focusing on setting major goals for myself 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I will say, I think it would be kind of cool if when I retire from my 9 to 5, which I absolutely love and have no plans to quit, when I retire from my 9 to 5, 15 years down the road, it would be nice if I had something quilting that I could retire to take over my time and still give me a little bit of extra income.
Yeah. Well, you have a long arm, and I feel like the skills you I mean, do people ask for commission quilts from you? Like, do you sell quilts? You do?
Nope.
No?
No, I
No?
don't. I have had them ask. I have had people ask for me to quilt for them, and I have actually had people ask me to make quilts for them, and I say no to both. I am not interested in taking on any commission work. I will be happy to sell you a piece that I design and I put together when it is all done. And if I have a piece for sale, maybe those will go in a shop at a future time as demo or prototype quilts or whatever. But for me, this whole journey, like spending time at my sewing machine is such a relaxing, creative, therapeutic process. And if I take on a commissioned piece of work, I start to stress and overthink how that other person is going to want the project to be completed. Am I making the right fabric choice? Am I stitching this good enough? Am I going to lose my point on this? Is the seam not correct? Is the stitching and the free motion quilting not perfect? Is the binding messed up? And then even in those, even if I'm doing everything absolutely correctly, or maybe I'm not, are they going to be vocal about it? Are they going to complain about it? Are they going to say they love it to my face and then complain about it behind my back? I can obsess and overthink every design choice I make in that project. And I just don't have the time or desire to have that type of energy in my studio. So for that reason, I don't take commission work.
I really like that. I I do commissions, and I am really bad at saying no, and I like you were saying earlier that with the long-term goal question, you're just doing what you enjoy, and I feel like sometimes
Mhm.
when you get a commission, you are kind of like given these boundaries. Say you
Yeah,
wanna if you're not making something that you completely love, then it is taking time out of that joyful time, something that is meditative and therapeutic to you. So I applaud you. I love that mindset. I feel like that's so hard for quilters. I feel like
it
we
is.
feel like we have to say yes to everything. Can you mend my pants? Can you fix this hole in my jacket? I suck
There.
at saying no, and I need to just start saying, you know, I'm not sure that I want to do that right now, but
Yep.
I love that mindset that you have, and I'm gonna learn from it, and I'm gonna start, you know, because I'm a people pleaser. So
We all
and that's
are. We all
from your
are.
cooking time. So I really love that. I'm applauding you again. That is so good. I love that.
Well, I mean, I will be honest, there are a couple of people in my world who I will never say no to, even if it's something stupid. My husband is one of them. In fact, it was probably about 3 years ago. I I had a little machine downstairs and he was like, "Hey, I have these jeans and I'd like to make them cutoff shorts. Do you think you could sew a hem?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." Will I ever hem anybody else's pants? No, so don't ask me. But it was my husband, and out of an act of love, out of a service of love, I did that
Yeah,
for him. I didn't enjoy my time hemming the jeans, but I did it because he asked me to, and he doesn't ask me for anything much at all. I
yeah,
will also never say no to my mom or my dad. If they ask me for something, I will always find a way to get them what they're looking for because they're my parents and
yeah.
probably my daughter, but that's where my circle ends.
That's a good circle. I feel like those are like the main people. That's a really good circle. I feel like
Yep.
husband, mom, dad, possibly kids, depending on how they're behaving. That's a good circle.
Yeah.
Let's see. I am doing whips and tips on my videos, and
Mm.
so I would love to see any of your whips. And if you have a
Oh,
tip that you'd like to share with us quilters today, now is the
so
time.
a whip is not a whip. It's a
No,
work in progress.
no whipping in this in this
Oh, well, I
I
don't
said no
okay.
spicy questions.
So, oh man, I can't show you because they're all put away, but maybe I could get up and look around. My works in progress are all over the place right now. My room is a disaster. I have everything kind of like, well, not a disaster. It's a little because I've been creating. I've got a pile of stuff over here. What I will tell you, instead of showing you, because I don't have anything at the moment, but what I really would like to do, I'll get up and go over there in a minute. But what I really have found works for me as far as tip, I'll jump into that first. So for my works in progress, my tip is to keep them organized and keep them together. And I'll show you what I mean by that. It's a good segue. Let's see. Here, I'll do this because I actually need to pull it down. Ah, we got all right, here we go. So my tip is to keep things organized so that you have it. So right on top, I think this is the right one. No, that's the 2020.
Ooh, that's genius.
Oh, this is 2018. These are neither of the bins I was looking for. Um, hold up. I will get it for you. Okay, I'll just use this one. This will work. So I'll use this as an example. All of my all of my whips or projects go in these Sterilite containers, and everything I need is in here. So when I am ready to work on that project, I just have to get the bin. And then, as you may have seen, don't judge me, this one's old, but on the side, I actually do put a label that tells me what's in this bin. And I put them on the top row of my shelves, which is a little hard for me to reach. Sometimes I need a ladder, but I put them on the top row with the label facing out. So I know what's in there without even having to think about it or looking at the fabric and discovering it. And so what that means is when it's time for me to work on that block of the month or that project, I just grab the bin, I work on whatever's in here, and then when I'm done, I put it all back in the bin and put it away. And that has been particularly helpful for things like the block of the month programs that I do with Fat Quarter Shop that I absolutely love because it allows me to pull it down, work on it for a moment, and put it away. I do have two block of the month programs for Fat Quarter Shop, the designer mystery that they did in 2018 and the one they did in 2020 that I signed up for. And I have all of the clues and I've only started it. So I'm trying to focus this year on getting those bins emptied out and filled up with new projects because I know it's unrealistic to be like, okay, I'm going to empty them out and now they're going to sit empty. I'm going to sign up for new projects. So the ones that are
Yeah,
a little bit older, I'm trying to get them done.
that's genius. I love that organization system.
Mm-hmm.
Piles. You were saying there's piles everywhere. That's my organizational system here. Pile there, pile there. Oh, that looks kind of recognizable. Was I working on that last week or like last year? That's
Well,
I
that's
know
the nice thing about the bin, though. Though it allows you to have your pile, it just puts it in a container
yeah.
because
I
it's
love
not organized in there. The pile's in the container, and the container goes up out of the way so that I have my surface to work
that's a great tip, especially for fabric hoarders and people who like doing a lot of different projects at once. I know there's a lot of people like us who just how can you pick one project, complete it, and then start anew? Why don't
on. I
start
can't.
20 of them and then, just have them hang out?
Well, so I will say, I have been different in the world of of crochet, and maybe that's just because I don't know enough stitches right now. But I'm picking up one project, and this is what I'm working on. So when I want to crochet, I'm doing this,
Yeah.
and when this one's done, then I will pick up another skein and work on it. I actually have been following the one project at a rule time with crochet, but I think it's because I don't know enough right
Yeah.
now. I think if I start learning more, it will be a completely different ballgame.
Yeah. When it's such a like it's a one hook thing. And so you're probably
Uh-huh.
using that hook and then for me to take a hook out of a project is like, "Oh, it's not safe anymore. It can unravel everywhere."
Yeah, that's
So,
very true, and you're right, it is because all of these use the same size hook, and I only
yeah.
have one of those, so.
Um, what are your favorite notions or tools?
Ooh, okay, hands down, favorite Notion, my Martelli rotary cutter, and that is paired with my 6.5 inch by 12.5 inch Creative Grids ruler. This is the most versatile ruler in my room, and it's the one that I am always reaching for. I have a ton of them in a variety of sizes, but this is the one that if I could only have one, it would be this one. And then I love my felt mats, the wool mats for pressing, and I like a good clapper to get a really flat block and best press. And I think those are things like if I had to leave and I could only have like 2 minutes to grab things out of my room. I'm going to grab a cutting mat, my 6.5 by 12.5 inch ruler, my Martelli rotary cutter, of course, my machine, and then I would probably grab. When I grab my cutting mat, I'll probably grab one of these things where it has cutting on one side and pressing on the
Oh,
other,
that's
and
awesome.
then
Did
my
you
best
make that?
press and iron. No, this is from Martelli Notions. So they've got these. You got to be careful though because they do fall apart over time.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but I just hold it together and it's fine. But
Yeah,
on one side it's a cutting mat, and then they have a little layer in here for like a vapor barrier, and
yeah.
then on the back it's just a pressing mat, so you can flip
I
it,
love
and it's a
that.
little. I like this better than the June Taylor's, the press and cut or
It's like
whatever it is
puffy.
called. Yeah,
It's
that's
puffy.
a nice.
I like how
Mhm.
that's nice and, compact. I love that. That's really cool. And
Yep.
Best Press, what's your favorite scent on Best Press? Do you get the
Oh,
non-scent or, like, the non-fragranced, or is there a scent that
no.
you constantly buy over and over again?
You have to get the scented because it's like free room air freshener. Why wouldn't you have the pretty scents? I don't know that I have a favorite. So I have a problem with my sinuses where I don't smell things as strongly as other people do. So I have been known to walk into a room and people be like, "Oh, do you smell that?" I'd be like, "What? Smell what?" I think I'm scent deaf. Is that a thing? Like, I think my nose is broken. It's gotten better, so I think it's because of allergies. I am allergic to dogs and cats and some tree pollen, and we have a cat, but for a long time we had a dog and a cat, and I think it's just done some permanent damage to my sinuses. I can smell a little bit better now, and there are some scents that I just absolutely love, but they have
Mhm.
to be pretty strong for me to smell, and I don't know why that is. Um, the scents that I do buy a lot for Mary Ellen's, I love the linen. I have a gallon of that actually sitting over there, and then I did just buy another gallon of lavender fields because I really like that one too.
That's the one that I buy all the time, and my husband, we went to the quilt shop the other day, and he freaked out. He's like, "Beth, Beth, look at this!" And it was the peaches and cream. So he put it in my thing, and I used it the other night, and I was like, "This is wonderful. Why have I been limiting myself to lavender for so long?" So I don't think I've tried the linen yet, but I feel like that would smell really good too.
Yeah, and the peaches and cream one is great too. I went through that. I buy it by the gallon because I have a wholesale account and I
Yeah.
can get best press by the gallon. So you send me a gallon, and when it gets down to about half, then I'll order another one. And if I'm smart, sometimes I'll order two or three at a time. And when I get down to about when I open the seal on that last one, then I start thinking about ordering some new ones. One of those folks, it's the same thing with like toilet paper or paper towels. When you break into the last package, it's time to go get some new ones because you're not stocking what's on the roll. You're stocking the supply in the closet.
Yep. Very true.
Yep.
Um, let's see. Who do you look up to within the quilting community? We might have gone over this a
Oh,
little Missouri Star Quilting, but if you want to name all of
everybody, all
your
of them.
star.
All of them. I mean, everybody, and it doesn't even have to be any big names, right? Like, I admire I admire Tiffany from Tiffany's Quilting Life for how much she is able to get done and how she is determined to teach herself stuff and how much she makes on a budget and out of scraps because that's not the quilter that I am. I admire I just everybody. There's so many names, and I don't want to. I feel like I kind of touched on it, but I look up, they all have their own story, and I love and respect everybody's story. It's uniquely theirs.
Yeah.
I am, I will say, if there was one that I could meet, I did meet Jenny Doan at her trunk show thing in 2019, right before the pandemic, I think it was. And I really appreciated my interaction with her, but I would love to have like a conversation with her. I would love to
Yeah.
talk to her, but I would also love to meet Rob Appel. I would also love to have a conversation with Karen Brown from Just Get It Done Quilts. Like there's a list of them. So I don't know that there's one person. I probably just would want to talk to all of them.
Yeah. Get a group
Yeah.
session. That'd be really
Yeah.
fun.
Just put them
Maybe
in a circle and I'll just like rapid fire all the way around and be like, fangirls the whole way
interaction,
around.
interaction, interaction. That's awesome. That we should get that on the books. We just need to start sending invites out and see who's like, okay, let's do it.
Well, you do that. You set that up and just tell me where to be, and here I will come. But I I would love to attend. I just don't have the time or the bandwidth to organize that.
Well, I'll let you know. I'll get on it and I'll let you know if anyone actually replies to me. That's awesome. They did.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Do you listen to anything in the background while you're sewing, or do you like it silent?
No, I don't like silence because then my thoughts take over and I can overthink how to flush a toilet. I can overthink everything in my life. I like having distractions. So I like listening to audiobooks sometimes. Sometimes I'll like listening to a TV show that I'm binge watching. But really, what I've really enjoyed having in my sewing room, and this is going to sound so uncool, but there are some cello artists that I really enjoy listening to. There's a group by the name of Two Cellos. It's two guys that play cellos and they play music they write, but they also do covers of popular songs. And there's just something soothing about having like that instrumental music playing while I'm creating. And I know the song, so I'm humming along or singing
Yeah.
softly to myself, but it doesn't have the same energy or the
Dude.
same pump as like if I was listening to the song itself. So,
Yeah.
they're playing like Billie Jean on cello and I'm just like, just like humming it to myself and it's just very relaxing. So
I'm
that's been
coming
my
to your
current.
sewing now. I'm on my way. That sounds very soothing, and strings especially. I could listen
Oh,
to strings all day long. So I might have to start doing that. I listen to like John Mayer and stuff, but
oh
having no
yeah.
words, you could like fill in the gaps there. That
Yep.
sounds really fun.
It's
So
like
I have to
it's
do
like
that
really good elevator music.
too. I get into a problem where I like to dance while I'm sewing, and that becomes problematic. So, the strings might be a better route for me, so I don't hurt myself.
Well,
Too
there's
many.
nothing wrong with dancing. You do that. I finished a block dance. You just get up and you shake your booty
Yes.
and move around a little bit. And then when you get the whole quilt top done, I think my mom took a video clip of me a few years ago. I finished a quilt top, so I was doing a very embarrassing, a very embarrassing move. And she took a video clip of it, and put it on Instagram. So I was like, I'm gonna embrace it, whatever. I called it the I just finished a quilt top dance, and
I think
it's
we've all
not
done that.
good.
It's
Yeah, you're like,
good.
I got
It's
it
good. It doesn't have to be
done.
good. We're feeling our achievement, and that's all that matters. I think that's
That's right.
awesome. Dance it out when you can, especially when
That's
there's
right.
some cello music in the background. That'd be like more of like a soothing dance.
Yep, yep, yep. My daughter walks in. Her name's Zoe. My daughter will walk in while I'm dancing. She'll just look at me, and I get this look.
Stop,
Like,
mom.
"You're embarrassing me. There is nobody here. Nobody can see me. Nobody can see me. It's embarrassing." Okay. She's 11 going on 16, I swear.
Oh, I have a Zoe too. My middle daughter, her name is Zoe, and I think we spell them the same way too,
With a
Zoey.
Y?
Yeah,
Yes.
because some people
Yes.
do Zoe. Even my nana, she'll do like Zoe with like the two dots over the O or something. I'm like, it's Zoey, 4 letters, symmetrical. It's good.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Well, when
that's
we
cool.
when we decided Zoe was the name, I wasn't I loved it when I said it, and then after I said it, I was like, I don't know if I love it." And Jason's like, "No, it's been decided. It is Zoe." And I was like, "Oh goodness, here we go." So I compromised with him that we would at least put the Y in the end because what I was afraid of, you know how you practice writing the name, right? Like, "Oh, my
Yep.
daughter, I was practicing writing the name and it kept looking like Joe to me. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna name my daughter Joe." And, and now I'm like, actually, Joe would have been a fine name for a girl. Who cares? So I had to put the Y in there because I felt like then people would say Zoe instead of
Yeah.
Zoe. Here's I don't know about you, but now I call her Zoe all the time.
Yeah.
Do you
Zo or Zozo.
yeah,
Zozo.
like I do Zobo once in a while too. I'm like, and she's
Aw.
like, "I'm not a Zobo." I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
Then let me dance. If you can't let me dance, I'm gonna call you Zozo.
There you go. That's a good
That's what
compromise.
you
I
get.
remember that one.
That's awesome. 11 though, oh my gosh, I can't even think ahead that I've got a 4, almost 3-year-old and
Oh,
then a 11-month-old. So
aw.
11 seems daunting to think about. You're gonna need
Ugh.
to be sending me quilting tips, organizational tips, and then kid tips, especially daughter tips because I'm scared. I'm so scared.
Run. Just run.
All right, fine. Grabbing my
Don't look
best
back.
dress, my rotary cutter. I'm out of
Take
here.
there you go. Find a place to go and come back when they get to like 10 or 11, leave and come back in 7 years. It's not bad. It's just think back to what you were like when you had that time, and it just have. And these are things I'm learning. I don't want to profess to be like, "I am the best mom." I'm struggling every moment of every day, and she's my first and only. So I'm figuring it out as I go, and I'm a people pleaser. So I struggle a little bit with telling her no, and I have a hard time because I don't want to be the bad parent. I want to be the fun parent.
Yeah.
So Jason and I have worked really hard over the past couple of years of getting a little bit more on the same page and making sure that we're backing each other up. It's helped a lot, but I still have a long way to go. So, my best advice to you when you get to that stage, just make sure that you and your husband are lockstep. Just and hold on because it's going to be a ride.
And we've
You've got
got
three
2
of them,
girls.
right?
Yeah, 2 girls, and
Yeah, so
Louise
three
is,
girls.
11 months old, and she's psycho already, like, she's biting and pulling Zoe's hair, so the 2 of them because me and my sister fought growing up, I'm like, "My
Yeah,
mother, what did she go through? That poor woman." So I'm
yeah.
hoping that, we're all like, "Oh, my babies would never do that." They're definitely gonna do that and, like, 10 other things more.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna do that, like, everything you did, your kids will do, and by the way, anything that you don't know that you do, just look at your kids because 'cause they'll show you what you do.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes that's a real eye opener. Just like the mannerisms or some of the things like they say, like where did you get that from? And then in the
yeah,
moment later on, you're like, hold up, that I'm doing that. That's crazy. But yeah, they're always watching, always watching.
always
Um,
watching and always repeating.
yes, yes. Even if you would prefer them not to. Because, like you said, we're all just trying to do our best, and that's
That's
the one
right.
thing I know this is, like, getting off track, but, I feel like when you're little, you don't realize that the adults are still growing. Just because you reach an adult status, it's not like you've achieved the, best person you can be, and now as a mom, I'm like, "Wow," like, my parents were growing. They were still young when they
Mhm.
had and they were making mistakes and they were doing things. So that whole mentality change is life changing, honestly. You're like, okay, I'm going to give myself some grace, but I'm also going to acknowledge that I have a lot of work to do. And hopefully the
Yeah,
kids be patient with me.
yep,
Hopefully.
that is really mind-boggling. So, there was, um there was a point in my li when I was in middle school, this is a little bit of a sappy story, definitely not quilt related, but it's a story that I think I love this story. So, my family, we never really had a whole lot of money growing up. My dad had a really good job. He earned a decent wage, but he was very irresponsible with his money. My mom had to fight for what she had, and she worked odds and ends to make make our ends meet, but we never really had a lot of extra. There was no extra money to do anything. It was pretty much pay the bills and then the money's gone, and you were lucky if you could pay all the bills. But my 7th year in school, during my 7th year of school, I was in band, and the band took, our school bands take an annual trip every spring to go somewhere for a music competition, and that year, they went to Disney World in Orlando, and I grew up in Detroit, so that was, like, coast to coast, right?
Yeah.
So, she scrimped and saved and worked as much as she could to let me go to Disney World, and she paid the way, and also, when I got on the bus, and this is back in the '80s, so it was a lot more then, but she gave me $200 in cash for while I was down there to spend, and
Mhm.
I just felt so rich. I was like, "I've got money. I'm going to Disney World." I appreciated it, and I never understood the sacrifice that she had to make that happen until, and I'm not joking, I had my daughter. And I was in my 30s. I had Zoe later in life. I was 33 when I got pregnant with her. So I realized then how hard she had to work to not only continue to raise 4 kids and put a roof over our heads and do all that, but to also be able to find the money to help me go on this Disney World trip. So that's you'll if you've been around my channel, you hear me talk a little bit about a Disney trip for my mom. That's why it's such a big deal to me. I was able to take her in 2015, but she got sick. And so it's been on the back of my mind that I want to take her again, just her and I, nobody else, so that she can have the experience that she gave to me when I was a kid. And yeah, I could go for another 20 minutes. I'll just stop there. But yes, you don't realize what your parents didn't know until you get to that part. You're like, wow, they didn't know this because all growing up, you thought your parents knew everything.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be such a good trip. When you do go, make sure to do all the videos and all the
Yeah.
pictures that you can look back and share with that. I would love to see you guys go to I think that's a great story. Thank you for sharing it with me. I really appreciate it. And it is
Welcome.
sappy. I got goosebumps, and
Oh,
honestly, that's just a testament to you, like what you've learned from your mom too. Like
mhm.
even if we didn't realize that in the time, now that you've realized it and you've appreciated even more, and now
Yep.
you're repaying it, I just think that's so sweet. So thank you for
Yep.
sharing with me. And
You're
you
welcome.
did say that you were in band, and so I have another
Mhm.
question, band related. What instrument did you
Sure.
play in band?
So I started out with the trumpet, and then that was in 7th grade, and then in 9th grade I switched to the French horn,
Oh, nice.
and I kind of double dipped there a little bit. But my primary instrument was the French horn for it
Mhm.
was for all of high school, but I still continue to play with the trumpet a little bit. That's predominantly what I played.
That's the French horn's like the circle one, right? And then it's
Mhm.
got the little
Yep.
thing. I'm a
It's
fellow
the
band.
one that has one purpose, Christmas. That's it. Anytime you hear Christmas music, I guarantee you're gonna hear a horn somewhere in that song. But when it's not Christmas and you're playing anything else, we're just in the background and nobody can hear you.
Everyone's just drowning out over it. Do
Yeah,
you
just
still
being
play
drowned out.
it?
No, not really. I remember I can still read sheet music. I have picked up an instrument within the past couple years. I picked up a trumpet actually, just to see if I could still do it. I can still make the sounds. I can still do all the finger positions, but my embouchure and my breath support are horrible and need a lot of
Yeah.
work. And my tone's not as good as it used to be. So I for a hot minute I was like, I'm gonna do this again. And I was like, you know what? No, that's okay. I would rather spend time doing something else. So as much as I would like to say I'm a musician,
Yeah.
I have not practiced in years, and I feel like in my head I know what the skills are, but I haven't practiced or done any of it, so I feel like I've lost some of it.
Yeah, I can relate. I played the clarinet and I was at one time pretty good at it, and I pulled it out of my closet literally like a month ago. And my reed was all chipped, and I was like, we're gonna make it work. And my yeah, it was a hot mess. But I was like, I can still make the sounds. I was annoying everyone in the house, but I was having a great time. So I think they preferred if I put it back into the closet and just go very quietly. So but I also think once a musician, always a musician. That's probably why you appreciate the cello music, and you kind of know what goes behind it, and you can hear all those elements and stuff. So even if you haven't practiced or done it in a while, I would still consider you a musician.
Huh,
You're still a
I never
musician.
thought of that way. I feel like I'm a musician at heart, but I haven't practiced in a long time. So maybe that's a great way of labeling it. Non-practicing musician.
Hey, it counts for something. It counts. Let's see. The next question. What is one of the silliest quilting mistakes you've ever made?
Oh my gosh. All of them and all of the time. Like
Yeah.
it's I think that's part of the reason why I like watching live streams because you see when the mistake happens and you're like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong." And you can see that the other person is not perfect when you make a video that's edited and polished and very nice and professional looking. What you're not seeing is all of the mistakes that went on the cutting room floor
Yeah.
because those are being left behind. But I've done it all and I still do it on a regular basis. I put together the Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilts once a month, and I always do those on a live stream. And I don't know how many times people in the chat are like, "You put the clue together backwards," and I look down and I'm like, "Oh, so I did." Seam ripper comes out and I gotta change it around. I've done that. You do the thing where you're quilting at the machine and the backing gets tucked up under, and so then you gotta rip the quilting stitches out. All of the mistakes, all of the mistakes. I've not set the machine on fire yet, so does that count?
Wait, what? You haven't
No,
or you
no,
have?
no, no, no. I
Okay.
have not. I have not.
Okay.
I was like,
You better
that
go
would be a
find some
mistake, and I've
wood.
not done
Find
that.
I'm knocking on this wood, that wood. If we hear like an urgent update from Sew Becca, it's because her sewing machine caught on fire.
No, I think I've made all of the mistakes, and some of them. I think the important thing to keep in mind is when you make a mistake, I like to take a second to think about it and understand, is this something that I need to fix or is this something that I can live with? And that's kind of the same thing that we do anytime we're problem solving any other part of our life, right? If you're putting together a half square triangle and you're building out a star block, if you chop off your points into a seam or the block isn't perfectly lined up, you at that moment are making a decision about whether you're going to want to redo that block or those seams to make it absolutely perfect, or are you going to let it sit in the quilt? There are mistakes that we make along the way that we have to address, and there are mistakes that are just a product of your creative journey and you're choosing to leave it in there.
Yeah.
I have mistakes in every single quilt. There are a lot of them, and I'll tell you the biggest mistake that I regret is teaching my husband how to find my quilting mistakes. Don't do that. Don't- I I did it because I was like, "Oh, I want him to see when I do it right." Like I want him to be proud with me, so I
Yeah.
showed him like how to see if the seams are perfectly nested and how to look to see if the points are perfect. And so now when I show him the finished quilt, he'll be like, "There's a problem. There's a problem." And he's doing it because he's like, "Look, I listened to you." And I'm like,
I'm properly trained.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, you are no longer fun to show my work to, so I'm going to hide it. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's funny because that's the one thing that I learned when I started. You're gonna know exactly all of those little spots, and I'm
Yep,
sure most of us, when you make a quilt, most of us are giving it to somebody. They're not gonna know. Most of the time, they're
that's
not
right.
quilters. They're just like, "Oh, there's a pretty quilt and you made it for me, and I love it, and that's great." But I am the one that like obsesses over every little point, but I'm not
No,
obsessed enough or motivated to rip anything out. Whenever Jack comes into the conversation, I'm like, it's not really that bad. Let's go. Like, as long as it's still
no,
functional, and as long as I think some of the mistakes are just learning moments. I mean, you're always learning. There's never a point where I feel like, especially in quilting with all of the little steps, that you are ever like a quilt master. I bet even the quilt masters make mistakes and we don't even know. It's just
yeah,
you just got to keep going and accept it for what it is. I mean, even like
that's right.
basketball or painters or everybody makes mistakes. So, don't
That's
teach your
amazing.
husbands how to spot the mistakes. Now that is the
That's
ultimate mistake. That is what we've learned to do. Here's the loop. Keep them out of the loop so that they just look at you and like, oh, that's gorgeous. Because Austin does that too. And I'm just like, yeah, yeah. And I just put it back down. It's
yeah,
not
just keep
that
it away
bad.
from them. No, no, here, repeat after me. It was supposed to be like that. No, it wasn't supposed to have a point. The pattern said it was supposed to be. I don't know what you're talking about. That's what the pattern said.
It is me exercising my creative liberty. That's what it you
That's
say it
right.
fancy and they'll be like, "Okay, whatever. You're still full of
Yep.
it. Whatever." Um, what is a well, you kinda said your tip, but what is a piece of advice you'd like to share with a new quilter? Something you've learned
Oh,
along the way or wish you would have known when you started?
don't stress. Just enjoy the journey and you'll get there in the end. This whole path, this whole journey should be therapeutic and enjoyable for well, maybe not therapeutic, but definitely enjoyable for you. If you are not enjoying your creative process, then you're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
Relax and just enjoy the journey. If you don't like the results that you got at the end, stop and look at what you did and think about some things that you could do differently. What I found for me is it is important to always cut accurately, and I like to use a rotary cutter to do that. I like to press every step of the way because that makes sure that my fabric is as flat as possible when I square up. And most of the time, I like to trim each step of the way so I can get good, excuse me, get better results. That said, even though I cut accurately and I press and I use a perfect quarter of an inch seam allowance, I still get results that are not perfect, and that's okay. So don't beat yourself up. I think I can summarize it this way. If you would tell another quilter that the work is good and you would not tell them that it's horrible, if you would extend them grace and kindness, then give that same grace and kindness to yourself.
That's awesome. I think that's great advice, and I think that a lot of us needed that when we started out because I feel like you do see other quilters who are already established in the
Yep,
craft and just are like, I need to be there. I need to get there. My first works, my second, my third, my fourth need to look like theirs. And not knowing they have all gone through that first step. They've been
yep,
quilting for years to get to the point that they are, and they are still making mistakes, but they're having fun. They're enjoying it. So I think
yep.
that's really great advice. And yeah, I think that thanks for sharing that. I think that's really good. A
You're
good
welcome.
mindset to have even when you're not a beginner, even when you've been doing it forever. You just if it's not enjoyable, then maybe take a break or, try something different. I think that's great
Yep.
advice. So,
Jenny
are you
Doan
ready?
said in Jenny Doan said in one of her videos, and this has stuck with me for a while, that nobody was born a perfect quilter, but that's true for everything in life. Nobody was born automatically knowing how to play a musical instrument. Nobody was born automatically knowing the Pythagorean whatever formula. Nobody was born with an infinite knowledge or amazing talent that they just came out of the womb doing. Your
Yeah.
talent is a result of hours spent cultivating that skill. You are practicing. Those musicians that you hear playing beautifully, it's because they practiced for a
Yeah.
long time. The people who are good at their job, it's because they've been doing it for a while. There are some things that come a little bit more naturally to us than others, but that doesn't mean that you're unable to do something. It just means that you have to work a little bit harder to catch up to where they are. So just keep that in mind. When you see somebody who has a quilt that's perfect, it's because they've been doing it for a very long time and they have worked very hard at their project and they were once at your stage, right?
Yeah.
Just keep practicing, just keep trying.
Keep going.
Just keep swimming, just keep
Just keep
swimming.
just keep swimming. That's a good
Yep,
advice. I really like it.
yeah.
Are you ready for some silly
Yeah,
questions? There's
let's
only a
do
few,
them.
but they're kind of either or questions.
Okay.
Solids or prints?
Oh, Prince, 100%.
Okay. I'm on the same bus as you, so we can hang out. We can go through prints together. Flying geese or half square triangles?
Ooh, ooh. Well, I feel like half square triangles are more versatile, so I'd go with a half square triangle because you could actually make a flying geese out of 2 half square triangle
You
units, so I'd go with
can.
half square triangle.
All
Yep.
right, smart answer. I appreciate that. Traditional piecing or FPP?
Oh, traditional, 100% traditional.
Machine binding or hand binding?
Machine binding, 100%. Get it done. Get it out of my room.
I'm
We're
in.
all done.
You are just answering all of these the same way I would. That's awesome. I don't think have you done hand binding on quilts before?
Nope,
Have you
and I
tried?
don't think I ever will. If I need a quilt that needs to be hand bound, I will tack it to the front and I will hand it to my mom, and we will while I am moving on to the next one. But if it's bound by me, it's bound on the machine.
I love that. Yes. Bold colors or muted neutrals?
Mm, depends on what the fabric is for. If it's for a background, I'm definitely going to go with muted. But I really am drawn to bold colors, but not obnoxious bold. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I like aquas and coral and pinks, but I don't like bright colors. I like bold, but I don't like bright. I
Yeah.
don't know if I can
Not
explain
like
that well.
blinding.
Yeah, I don't want neon. I don't want it to
Yeah.
be borderline neon. I'm not and even a lot of like Allison Glass stuff is kind of borderline for me. I'm not necessarily a fan of like that palette,
Yeah.
but I like the Bonnie and Camille and the Lella Boutique and Corey Yoder type of bold colors. So
I feel like that's
and
a
I even
good
like Tula
mix.
Pink colors.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good mix because you've got the colors, but they're
Yeah,
just toned down a little bit. It's like a good,
just a
like,
little.
middle gray area.
Yep,
I like that. You get the best of both worlds, though. Lilla Boutique has colors, but they're not like like in your
yes.
face. So I love
Yep,
that. Let the
yep,
piecing and the quilting shine a little
yep.
bit more too.
Though I will say, by the way, though I have seen people do things with like Allison Glass, and when it's done, I'm like, wow, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time, and this is my same problem with K facet fabric. I have a hard time looking at the fabric and picturing it a bit smaller in a project and being able to see it for what it could do.
Yeah, that's how I am with a lot of the Tula Pink. I like her line work. That's like my favorite one because I feel like that's something you can easily envision cut up and it's not
Mhm.
as daunting as like the Curious Sir and with the
Yeah,
face and the cameos and like the bigger prints. I mean, Cafe is kind of like that as well, but it's like I have that same problem. I cannot picture it cut down and then paired with something else because it completely changes what the fabric is.
right.
So I have issues like with that as well. I love Tula. I love her fabric, and I love it when other people use it. But it's like I am too intimidated to go buy it myself because I'm like I don't know what to
I
do.
don't know how to cut it. Like
Yeah,
I start to obsess. Like you'll have, for example, you're talking about the Curiouser and Curiouser line. You have that main focal fabric, which has the face print, which I think
yeah,
was for like her rendition of her sister modeled as like Alice in Wonderland or something. But
yeah,
I see that and I'm like, oh, I want to cut that piece out and use it. But then I start to obsess about, well, if I cut that out, then I'm going to get the side of her face over here and the side of her face over here. And so I feel like actually Tula Pink fabric might be great for a collage quilt because then you can
oh
cut the shapes out. That just like
yeah,
that might be a
and all
good
the
user
like
for fabric.
floral arrangements around. You,
Yeah,
you might be
that
onto
might be a good.
something.
Yeah, might
You
have to
might
look
have
into
to.
that.
You're gonna have to
Or
do
maybe
that
some
because I'm
tape.
interested. Yes.
By the way, I can see the chat coming up, and somebody's asked a couple of times, so I just want to type this out or bring this to your attention. Jenny wants to know who am I talking to? So do you want to share who you are with everybody?
I am Beth Goody with Goody Goods, and I just recently started my YouTube about a couple months ago. I'm mostly active on Instagram, but I've been quilting, and I was like, well, why not? I would love to, kind of like what you said when you made that video of your needle. My sister in law and my sister in law's sister, they just started out quilting, and for a while, they're like, Beth, if you would just make a video of this and explain how to baste a quilt and like show your fabrics and how do you do this? How do you do wavy line
Yep.
quilting? That would be great. So I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone and was like, okay, I could enjoy talking about quilting because I'm pretty sure I've annoyed everyone else in my life with how much I've talked about quilting. So why not go to a with a community of quilters who want to listen and learn and grow together. So I started a YouTube channel, and this is part of my Meet the Makers series. So I really
Yep.
want to be able to interview quilters, long armors, YouTubers, content creators based on quilting. about who they are, what they are in their quilting life and all that. So I am just so happy that Becca agreed to do this with me, and that's who I am. I'm just another crazy quilter who likes to talk about quilting nonstop. But yeah.
Well, and
So,
keep in mind, so I know there are some people that are watching this on my channel because she's using a software product that allows her to stream to more than one channel at a time. So this is actually not my live stream. This is Beth's live stream from her channel. So I will in my channel in just a moment. I'll pop into the chat and I'll put a link to her YouTube channel. So if you are enjoying this type of content, you want to see her do this with other creators, the best way to compliment her is to go over to her channel and subscribe.
well, thank you.
You're
I would love
welcome.
to. I do a lot of like live night sewings. I watch your lives. You let me jump in on one of your lives that one.
Yeah.
I showed off my moon medallion quilt and I was just so nervous. I was like I was like a little hamster on a wheel. I just like couldn't slow down to really like enjoy the moment. But yeah, I was a little starstruck. I kept telling my friend Courtney and my friend Sean, I was like, I just hope I don't make an idiot out of myself. And I'm just so excited. It's a little starstruck moment because I've been watching you for a while and I've just wanted to, that sounds creepy. I've been watching your YouTube for a while. And so I'm just really, really appreciative that you've taken the time today to let me pick your brain a little bit and get to know you better.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here. I'm really honestly flattered. If I'm being completely honest, I'm flattered that you wanted to do this with me because I feel like I do the same sort of thing a little bit on Friday nights. And I've got things in the works to do some blocks with friends, like a
Yeah.
block coffee chat on Friday nights. And I want to have other creators join me while we put together a block and talk, similar to kind of what we're doing here,
Yeah.
but I don't really get invited to other live streams very frequently. I
Oh,
feel like
wow.
I invite a lot of people into me, and this is the first time that I feel like I've kind of been invited. Not the first time, because I've been like I've done things with Stephanie and her channel before, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of there's not a lot of creators out there that have, and I think I did one with Tiffany, but there's not a lot of creators out there that have the capability to do the bring people in. It's
Yeah.
takes a little bit of technology, as we learned earlier. So it's not something that I've done a lot of, and this is kind of a first time doing something with somebody that I don't know. I'm really excited about it.
Yay! Well, I'm just excited, and I would love to be part of your coffee block. I've got a lot
Yes.
of sewing I need to get on to. I might not be drinking coffee because caffeine does weird things to my brain, but I will be sewing and talking. So if you ever
Awesome.
need someone
Well,
to hang out with late at night, I'm here.
yeah,
I'd
we'll
love.
get that in the books. We'll pick a Friday night where we could do a block and chat. I don't even know what that sounds like a great series title for what I'm planning to do.
Yeah.
So I'll get you on the list.
Yay! Yes. um, We have two more fun questions, and then I
Okay.
can either go into some long arming questions, or we can open it up for people in the chat who might want to ask some questions that maybe they haven't asked yet. But this is the real. It's a silly question still, but it holds a lot of weight. Okay, are you ready?
Oh, oh no.
Wait,
I don't
are
know if
you
I
a
can do this.
hold tight to your chairs, everybody. Are
Okay.
you a pin baster or a spray baster?
Neither baster.
Oh, yeah, you've got a long arm.
Well, I mean, not everything's done on the long arm. I do things sitting down here, but if it's small enough for me to quilt here, I don't baste it at all.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love
no,
that.
no.
You need to get like some sunglasses on. That
I'd be
sounds
like, my future self sprite, I don't need to use pins. No, I don't. And here's why. And I didn't even think about this until Tiffany mentioned it. She mentioned this about a year or so ago in one of her live streams that if you're basting just a small project, if you just put the layers together, it's gonna hold relatively okay, especially if you put some iron, you put some heat to it.
Yeah.
That might work a little bit better with polyester or like a cotton poly blend batting. But I have a design wall, and that design wall is made out of cotton batting, and my fabric sticks to it just fine. So if I'm
True.
working on like a table runner or a mini quilt or a tabletopper, and it's going to be right here, and I'm not going to have to pick it up and move it around a lot. No, I'm not going to baste it at all.
I might need to try this. This seems like I've never even thought I think for, like, small things, I mean, I was just making this thing, and I just sometimes you just use glue. You just, like,
Yeah,
fixate it somehow, but wow, this is opening up, another option that I haven't even thought of, honestly, but it makes sense because the design walls and the batting has such a grip to the fabric, so
yep,
basting's kind of like a just an added step, I guess, and then also
yep,
sometimes it still moves even when you baste it, so why
yep.
even waste the time? Well, I'm gonna have to add a 3rd option onto this because of you now. Pin basting, spray basting, or nada?
Nada. I will say when I had my mid-arm and I did have to baste quilts, bigger projects, it was always pin basting.
Pin did you prick yourself or were you responsible with pins?
I I no longer have a finger because I can't. That's why I don't baste.
Yeah.
I because the spray stuff, I feel like I would get it on and then I would have to peel it back and deal with the glue because it wouldn't be the right way, and that would frustrate me, and then it would make all the fumes and make it hard to
Yeah.
breathe, and then with the pins, I would poke myself, so I felt like it was, I was is it masochist when you hurt yourself
Yeah.
or sadist? I don't know. I felt like I was hurting myself no matter what I did, so I just gave it up because I wasn't enjoying it, so I was like, "No, I'll deal with consequences, it'll be fine."
When quilting hurts, you need to do it a different way.
There
You
you go.
stop.
That's right. That's right. There should be a whole series on when quilting hurts, and they just like little blood drops from a finger coming off on the thumbnail.
I
No.
did see a video, speaking of that, someone on Instagram made a reel. If you get blood on your quilt, if let's say you are a pin baster and you are not that skilled with the pins or you're just clumsy, aka me, if you get blood on a quilt, your saliva has enzymes to break down the blood. So you can just, it sounds gross, but you can spit on it and it gets rid of the blood so it doesn't soak into your fabric and stain it.
I
So,
love that. I'm
so
gonna spit at somebody now. Ow! What are you doing? Getting the blood out of my quilt. Not even like doing it tactfully, just like looking hoggies down on the bed. Well, if you
then
ever
you
see
can
me do
say,
that, now you know
"This
why.
this quilt was made with blood, sweat, tears, and saliva."
I spit on you. Here you go.
That's so funny. But I guess it works. I just watched that video and I was like, "Hmm, okay, I never would have thought to do that, but maybe it works." Let's well, I know your answer now because we've been talking, but free motion quilting or straight line quilting?
Actually, there's a time and a place for both. Straight line quilting looks amazing on the right project. Free motion quilting looks amazing on the right project. The stitching really is it's whatever the quilt tells me it wants. And that sounds so stupid. It sounds like I'm like this creative person who just has this aura that no, it isn't. But there is a story that the quilt kind of tells you. The quilt tells you how it wants to be quilted. I don't know, that sounds so stupid, but I don't know how else to explain it. I just
It's
look
true
at a
though.
quilt and yeah, this quilt needs this stitching done. I don't know. I can't explain it. I will say I do like the look of straight line quilting in some quilts, and I really like it when you just do like the same line, you just the same distance apart all the way down on a quilt. I think that sells a specific story. I have a problem with that because I feel like no matter how straight I start, even if I draw my lines, by the time I get down to the bottom, my straight lines are always angled up or down. So I call it straight-ish.
Well, I get to the point where I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be a great idea. It's gonna look so good. Let's do it." And you're like, "Let's make them super, super close. It'll be just bam." And you get like 10 lines in and you're like, "Well, this is terrible. Who agreed to do this?" Because then you look at the rest of your quilt and you're like, "Oh my gosh." But then you look to the other side, you're like, "I'm not seam ripping that." So I
Well, it's
overcame.
different to rip out a quilting stitch than it is like a seam. That takes
Yeah,
way more time.
yeah.
I I'll be honest, the reason why I don't do straight line quilting is because I get bored. Like, who wants to do the like just
Yep.
it's boring.
Yeah.
I
and
want
it
to
takes
spice it up. My brain's
yeah.
already like on to the next 3 projects, and I'm still just drawing straight lines.
Yes, I
I'm
especially
sorry,
some there's
I had to
people.
giggle. Jamie just wrote that she's straight line quilting right now.
Oh god.
I'm sorry.
How is it going for you, Jamie? How close are
Well, she
your
wrote,
long
"Ha,
arms
ha, ha,
getting?
ha, ha," so
That's so funny. Let's see. I've got some long arming questions. Let's just go for it because I would like to know more about your long arming side. What has your long arming experience been like so far? Like, how long have you been doing it? How's it how's it going? How's the
yeah,
learning curve?
I'm a beginner. I am totally a beginner. I'm a novice. Um, I bought my long arm about a year ago, year and like 14 months ago, and honestly, sorry, Jamie made me laugh. I will not cave to peer pressure. That's what she wrote. um, I'm still a novice. I've only been doing that. I've had it for 14 months, but I packed it up in July of last year and didn't get it unpacked until January. So it's not even been a year. Like a good part of this past year, it's been packed up, and I work full time and I've got a lot of other commitments. So sometimes my machine will sit for a month before I can get a quilt loaded and actually use it. So
Yeah.
some days it's going, some days it's not going. I enjoy my time on it. I wish I had more time and I wish I could be better, but I'm not a I don't claim the title long armor because I don't feel like I'm there yet.
Okay. Well, you'll get there. I feel like that's a common struggle. There's never enough
Yep.
time. Like we are just
Right.
juggling so much, and you have a job too on top of it, like you said.
Yep.
I I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't leave the house, but I'm constantly doing something else. And by the time you get time, it's like, okay, do I do this or do I do this or do I do this? And
Yep.
then there's long arm or your Cricut machine or your if you have an embroidery machine just staring at you like, use me, I missed you.
Yep. And you've got
But
3 littles.
yeah,
3 you've got 3 little kids. That's a lot of energy. I am lucky enough that my daughter's 11, she's self-sufficient. Like, she brings the Amazon packages in from the house. I just noticed this. But it's, yeah, she's a little bit more self-sufficient, so it's a little bit easier for me in those moments to have downtime. I find myself
yeah,
with more free time now when I'm at home, but I'm also learning that I have less free time than I used to have because now I'm back in the office full time. So it's a
yeah.
balance. I'll eventually get to the point where I'll get into a routine. I love my time in the long run, but it's not going anywhere right now.
What motivated you to get a long arm or to start a long arm?
Well, I if I'm being completely honest, when I bought my mid arm, so I did a lot of quilting on a domestic machine and I hated wrestling the quilt. And I hated basting, and I wanted a long arm, but that was like $10,000 for one that doesn't even do it with the computer, and then I'd want the computer, and then it'd be like
Yeah,
20. No way.
yeah,
So I settled for a mid-arm because it was 5 with a really nice cabinet, and I
yeah,
thought I would be okay with that for a while because I would have the bigger throat space and I could do free motion quilting a little bit better, and I actually it worked for a little while, but what I realized, the other part of that is with a mid-arm, all you have is a slightly bigger table, and actually it wasn't even bigger than my current cabinet, and you have a bigger throat space, which is good, but you still have to base the quilt, and you still have to wrestle the quilt onto the table and move it around, and it was a lot more physically exhausting. It used your upper body to quilt because
yeah,
you had to manipulate that quilt on the table, and I didn't like doing that. So, eventually, I've been talking about a long arm for a long time, and I just kinda got to the point where it was like, "Poop or get off the pot." So, I sold my mid-arm for a little bit of money. I paid it forward actually to a lady by the name of Donna who has just started a YouTube channel as well. She has my old mid-arm, and I took that money and invested it towards the purchase of a long arm, and even
mhm,
though I can't use it every single day, there is just something that I love about having my own long arm and the ability to finish my own quilts.
yeah,
Now Handy Quilter and Baby Lock both have come out with a long arm that has a smaller throat space, so it's like a 15-inch throat space, and it's on a 8 or 10-foot frame. I think you can even get a 5-foot, but I think the
Yeah.
default is 8 or 10, and you can get it for like $5,000. So the HQ Moxie, totally economical,
Yeah.
and later you can add a Pro Stitcher component to it so you can get the computerized. So for the same price that I paid for my mid arm, you could have a long arm. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I've got someone asked what machine. I have a Singer Quantum Stylist. And
Mhm.
then talking about mid arms, what was your mid arm? Do you know um
Yeah,
what was the name of it?
it was a Baby Lock Tiara 3. Um, Great machine, highly recommend, absolutely love it. I just did not enjoy the I enjoyed my sit down, because some people call it sit down long arm. I enjoyed my mid-arm experience in the beginning. I outgrew it, and I resented the machine for a long time, and I never used it. It was a paperweight.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I am just starting out on my it's not even a mid arm. It's a cutie grace frame. So it's probably similar to what you're talking about because I'm gonna have to like reposition it. It doesn't roll onto the frame, it's a hoop frame. Was your
Yeah,
baby a hoop frame as well? Or did you roll it onto
no.
a bar?
No,
It was
no, it was nothing. It was the Baby Lock was literally just a table, and it's like if you take your sewing machine and you make it taller and
yeah,
deeper and you turn it 90 degrees. So same thing, it's the same thing as you would have on a long arm, except there's no carriage and there was
yeah.
no hoop. So yeah, no, nothing. It just set it on the table and do it.
That's crazy. Well, I'm going to have to ask you a lot of questions about that because I just got started. I've got it's welcome to my basement, but there's the cute
Aw,
right there.
yeah,
So I have a Juki on it. But I was also talking about getting a long arm, but oh, they're just so expensive. And like you said,
they
like
are.
the Pro Stitcher is almost the price of the long arm itself for some of them, and you're like, what the heck? But my husband and I did a lot of research and we found the cutie. So I've stitched on it twice. The first time went very, very well. The second time I broke 3 needles and had a mental breakdown. And like you said, it was on live. You were saying that, you know, you never see those moments when it's like a published or polished video. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to do some quilting tonight. And then, like, thread break, needle
Yep,
break, needle break,
yep,
needle break,
yep,
minimal
yep.
cursing, some hair fall. And I'm just like, okay, I guess we're not quilting tonight, guys. I have to find where the needle went because I thought that it went down into my plate or whatever. There's a little hole right behind or underneath the needle on the Juki. And I couldn't find it. I thought it was stuck in there. And it's a brand new machine, so I couldn't get the screws undone. This whole live was a mess. I was like, okay, guys, I will see you next year. I need to figure out what's going on with this machine. But my journey of doing long arm quilting has just begun, and I am like you as well. I just have so much going on where it sits there a lot, and you want to learn, and you want to play around, and you want to grow
Yep.
those skills, but it's like you have so many other things needing your attention. So I relate to the struggle. I really do. But
I will tell you, if you are interested in talking more about long arming, you really should tap into there are several YouTubers out there that are known for their long arming videos and their long arming content. Tucker from Tucker's Sewing Room, he's a new YouTuber. I think he's got just over 1,000 subscribers now, and his skills are amazing. And he's 16 years old.
yeah.
So I'm just like,
Well,
Tiffany
that
is another great one, and so is Teresa.
yeah. Well, that night that I went on your live, he went on after me, and that was the
Yeah,
first time that I had because everyone was like, "Tucker!" And
yeah,
I heard the story, and I was just flabbergasted. I was like,
uh-huh,
if I had that mindset that young, and even just like the passion at that young, he is just
yep,
going to continuously grow. I
he's
did
gonna blow up.
have I think I was supposed to do an interview with him in like a week or so, but like my mom had a family emergency out in
Mhm.
Florida. Luckily, she's okay. But I had to tell him, hey, my mom's in the hospital, so we'll have to reschedule. She's actually back in the hospital now in Kansas
Oh,
City.
no.
Um, Nothing as serious, it's just related a little bit, but he's on my radar because I do wanna
Good.
tap into that long arm and just the genius of, like, being that young and being so on it, like, that is just
Mhm.
that's commendable. I'm like, "Wow." I wish that
That
if I had the option of, because I would have picked a car. I would have been like, "Nah, I'm getting a car. I'm gonna go.
especially
Bye."
like a Tesla. I would be like, "Oh, I
Exactly.
got the Tesla." Now yeah,
See you
I
later.
would've picked the car too. See you
I
later. Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome. Definitely keep him on your radar and maybe take a look at like Teresa Louise.
yeah,
She's amazing. She's been
she's
around the
amazing.
block a little bit. She's very talented when it comes to that when on her long arm. And then so is Tiffany. Like there's so many creators out there that you're just scratching the surface. But those are the three when I think about long arming YouTube content, who has a YouTube channel that is focusing on long arm content, it's those 3. Those would be the 3 I would look at. And I feel like Teresa is doesn't do a lot of long arm content now that I'm thinking about it, but she has quilted quilts for me, and I've seen her talent in person. Tiffany has too. But so maybe she's earned that right because I've worked with her. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I know Tiffany and Tucker definitely have the content.
Well, and Teresa is a sweetheart. She is
Oh,
so
yes.
sweet. So if any of you
100%.
are watching, look out into your emails in a little bit. You might see an email from Goody Good email because I really do enjoy being able to just talk to people. Everyone's so different in their quilting and everyone has something special to share. I do want to open it up to anyone in the comments if you guys have questions now that you would like to ask Becca or myself or both of us. Now is your time. But those were all of my questions. I had a few more long arming ones, but now that I was like, yeah, we'll do this later. Yeah, I just wanted to tap in because I know that you had a long arm. You're obviously a very talented quilter, and then you're getting into crochet. Um,
Mhm.
you need to get into amigurumi. I'm telling you.
Yes.
Amigurumi,
Yes.
you need to do it. There's a lot of free patterns and on YouTube, Hooked by Robin. If you
Okay.
haven't found your way to her page yet and you're interested in amigurumi, go to Hooked by Robin, make a whale, make a bumblebee. She has a lot of free, even just like regular patterns for like scarves and stuff on her blog. If you haven't found her yet, you're going to love her. She goes step by step, definitely helped me on my amigurumi. But I want to be amigurumi buddies. I'm gonna coach you into getting into amigurumi.
I just actually subscribed to Hook by Robin and I put it in the chat over on my channel. So you guys can click on if you're watching it on my live stream. There is actually a question for you, Beth. Julie Katz said, "What brought you to quilting and what machine do you use?"
Well, I started quilting um let's see, 3 years ago. My grandmother is a crazy quilter. Like she is so good. She does the cross stitch, she does the knitting, she does the crochet, but she does quilting and she does it really, really well. And she made me quilts growing up. And every time that I got one, even though I wasn't already knowledgeable of what went behind it, I was obsessed. I was
Oh,
so appreciative of it. I feel like some people, if they don't know what's behind it, they're like, eh, it's a blanket. Some people are like, this is amazing. And some people are like, it's a blanket. But I definitely the person that was like, this is so great. And I used it every single night for years. And the first one that she made out of like baby clothes that I wore. And it had like birds. It was called Birds for Beth because we used to watch birds together. I was a huge bird nerd growing up. But anyway, I loved this quilt. I used it all the time, and there were holes all over it eventually. And I kept saying to my husband, I'm like, just in passing, not like I was trying to plant any seeds, because sometimes I do plant seeds intentionally. This was just me babbling here and there about, man, I wish I could fix this quilt so I could use it, because I'd gotten to the point where I wanted to fold it up and put it away because I didn't have the means of fixing it. And one year for Christmas, he went to Walmart and he got me my first sewing machine. It was a complete surprise. he brought his mother and his dad to Walmart to help pick one out because his mom quilts. So from then on, he was like, well, first he was like, I got this because you always said that you wanted to learn how to fix your quilts, so here you go. And so I thought that was like the most thoughtful, like best husband present ever. I was like so blown away by just the thought behind it. Because I'm a thought person. If you put thought behind anything in a gift, it's like 1,000 times more meaningful to me. And then from then on, poor husband, I just went off the deep end. I was like, I started one quilt and I have not stopped since. Fabric collection has grown, gadgets, notions, machines. So I don't think he knew it would grow to what it is now. And honestly, I didn't either because I've never latched on to a hobby or an activity or something so much. Like, I'm the type
Yeah.
of person try something, I'm like, in a couple months, I'm not going to do this anymore. But quilting is the first thing and the only thing where I've been like, this is amazing. I can never see myself stopping this. Like, it's so much fun. So that's how I started. I started on a brother. I think it was like a CSI something 000 from Walmart, just a domestic. It
The
was
same one
amazing.
we all get, right?
It's so good. And it works. If it works and it sews a straight line, then that's all you need. But I have a Singer now, and then I just got the Juki for the cutie frame, but I haven't really been able to play with it as much. But I love my Singer Quantum Stylus 9960. That's what I use for piecing and stuff.
Yeah, there
But
you go.
started long ramble, but I like
No,
to
I
ramble.
think that's great. Looking to see, put, folks were asking for links, so I'm busy grabbing links and putting them in the
You are
chat. So if it
so
looks like I'm not
fast.
listening to you, I am listening. I am just also multitasking. There we go.
Becca, did you
Uh,
find Ian's package? LOL.
no, no, I did not. I have no idea where it is. It'll turn up one day. Nope. Next.
Let's see. I have a question for Becca. Ooh, I'm gonna try this new feature. Here we go. Let's try this. I
Oh,
have
did
a
you just
question.
pin a comment?
I like showed it. Whoa.
That's I need, well, so I full disclosure, Restream, which is a software that you're using to do this, has been on my radar for a minute, and I've paid for a subscription for a couple of months, and I've not really used it. But now you have encouraged me to embrace all that is the software that I've been paying for. So when I do those coffee or those block chats, I want to be able to restream it because whoever is with me should be able to show the content on their channel too. And so I'm
Yeah.
really excited like that you figured out how to make this work. So don't be surprised if I ask you questions.
Praise husband. Austin, the quilt husband, like he's been a rock star. He's figured this all out. I'm just glad that our pre-studio time did not scare you off from Restream.
No,
I think that was entirely my fault. Some weird Bluetooth setting on my laptop. But yeah, I
don't
really
worry
like
about
the platform and I think it's really cool. You can even stream your channel if you have like a Twitch or I tried doing it on Instagram. You should be able to stream live on Instagram too, because that's why I got this. I wanted to be able to stream on my account and whoever's on with me. And I also wanted to stream this video to my Instagram because I do a lot on Instagram as well. And I wanted to mesh those worlds together simultaneously so that it's a different crowd. Not everyone that's
Yeah.
on YouTube uses Instagram, and not a lot of people on, so I wanted to like bring my two worlds together, and Restream has been really, really cool. And I'm still learning, but you can ask away, and I'll just direct my husband. I'll be like, "Hey,
Ah,
Becca's asking this question," and he's like a tech dude, so it gives him something fun to do. But yeah, I really like it. I'm glad you're liking it because you use Streamlab, right? Do
mhm.
you use
Yep.
Streamlab? I have
Yeah,
no
I've
idea.
been go no, yeah, I have, I do. So I bounce between Streamlabs and OBS Studio, and I have been dabbling a little bit with a new software product that's for Mac only called Ecamm Live, and I each one has a feature that I like, and each
Yeah.
one has a feature that I don't like, so it just depends on the day of the week. I am now back in the platform of playing in Streamlabs. So
Yeah.
I'll live there for a while, and then I'll switch, and I
I
change
think
things up a lot.
the one thing that I like a lot about your channel and what makes me wish it was on Restream, and there's a roundabout way to do it, is you have your camera of you and then you have a separate camera of your hands and what you're doing. And I
Yep,
love that. As a viewer, you can see what they're doing and also see their face. It's not either or. But
yep,
Restream, you have to have two devices. So you would have to kind of like what I'm doing right now, you would have to send a link to yourself on another device and then have another device. There's no way to add another camera into your setup right now, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
kind of frustrating, but I mean, there's a roundabout way of doing it. But how many people have, two computers or, a computer and so I don't know if it's super realistic. I wish they would add it to this platform because then it'd be perfect in my mind. I'd be like,
Yeah.
yes. But I really do enjoy that you have the two camera setup when you're crafting. I
Yeah.
really
And I think that's the thing that causes me the most struggle is just making sure that I can show though both of those camera angles with the software that I'm using. But I also like or I enjoy being able to bring in other guests and
yeah,
bringing that's when the tech demons really come out in my computer is when I bring on a guest. And so
yeah,
what I have found, and this is a great solution for anybody out there that has a YouTube channel and wants to be able to bring on a guest and doesn't care about the fancy restreaming, pointing to multiple streams, whatever, you just want to have a guest on. What I have found is Zoom is a great low tech solution to just get the job done. If I want to host somebody on my channel, I don't have to worry about any tech issues. I just use Zoom.
yeah. I've seen because Zoom is what you used when you do your late night live. Like when I hopped in, you had people like sitting in a room. That
Yes.
was Zoom. So I
Yep.
thought that was cool that you could just
Yep.
bring people in whenever. I don't have a Zoom account, so I'm like, maybe I'll try it. Do you have to pay for like a basic
Yeah. So it's
subscription?
$150 for a whole year, and that
Oh, that's not
license allows you to have lots of people in your Zoom call. And
yeah.
it also allows you to point it to social media. So you can stream to
Oh, that's
Facebook,
cool.
you can stream to YouTube, you can stream to your channel. If you haven't, we did a test on Tiffany's YouTube channel just to make sure that I understood how the functionality worked. It was the only time I was on her channel, but we used my Zoom software and pointed it to a live that she had scheduled, and it worked just fine.
That's really cool. Well, I might have
Yep.
to look into that, or I might have Austin look into that as well. Any
Yeah.
tech thing is just like totally above my head. I've gotten comfortable here, and I'm like, I'm a creature of habit. I'm scared to go out of my my comfort zone. Um, let's see if there's any more questions. Do you, when you have laundry needing to be done and you want to sew, do you just don't do it, or do you maybe hire a maid?
I answered that one in chat. I just ignore
Okay.
it and keep sewing because my husband will do the laundry.
That's I think that's fair. I'm trying to scroll on here. Let's see. Let's see what happens if I press another one. Whoa, it worked.
Oh, look at that.
And you can even like um there we go. Are you on Twitch? If so, what's your channel? Do you have a Twitch,
I
Becca?
do. I do. It's Sew Becca, and I don't post anything there, so you're welcome.
Go enjoy.
Go enjoy the non-content.
I don't understand Twitch. I really don't. Austin was like, "You should get a Twitch so you can stream on there." I have no idea what it is. Even when I've streamed on here, like right now I have my Twitch account attached, so it's streaming to my Twitch. I have no
Oh,
idea what
cool.
it's doing. I have no idea what that means. Do the videos disappear or where do they go? I don't know. I do have a Twitch, but it's going to be the same as Becca's. I have no idea what I'm doing with it. So, save your time and just don't even bother going to it.
One day I will get more into another platform, but the reality is for me, I use Instagram to post daily, not daily even, but I use Instagram to post little pictures and stuff that I want to share through like behind the scenes content kind of
Yeah.
thing. And my main platform is YouTube, and I don't really have time to do other platforms. If quilting and social media and all that was my 9 to 5 job, I would pour all of my time, energy, and thinking into making those platforms work and really have them well rounded. And if I had a team, it would be even better. But the reality is, it's just me, and all
Yeah.
I'm doing is inviting you into my space when I'm creating, when I'm enjoying my hobby. I'm bringing you along for the ride. So I have to be honest with myself, and I have to be honest with myself with the things that I actually have the bandwidth to do.
Yeah. When it's hard to juggle, it's not just like sharing to you have to make specific posts on Facebook, Instagram, people have Twitter, YouTube. It's exhausting. And then by the time you're done doing all that, are you even doing what you're wanting to do with quilting? My
Yeah.
answer for that, no, I'm just like overwhelmed. So I stick to Instagram and YouTube. That is, and your Discord, someone's asking if either of us have a Discord. I've really enjoyed being on yours, and I think it's
Yeah.
really cool that you started it and that you actually like talking in. People get to talk to you. I
Yeah.
think that's so cool that you're making yourself accessible to people. Um,
Well, to a degree. So I just want to level set. I don't have Discord so that I can sit there and talk to everybody all the time, but I do pop
yeah,
in occasionally. The purpose behind Discord is I was hosting a monthly Zoom session where everybody that watched me could register, and then they could come talk, and I would create little small rooms for them to go in and talk and hang out with each other. But that's a lot. That was a lot for me to host. And it was literally just me giving, and it was a lot of work for me on my end. And I didn't have, it was one more day that I was giving myself and not being able to focus on my own stuff. And so I started thinking about what are ways that I can allow for collaboration amongst the community that we're building here without having to be the one linchpin that's holding it together. And that's where the Discord server came in. So the whole idea behind this, there's a link in my Facebook group if anybody wants to hop over and grab it. The whole idea with that is literally just to go in there, and if you're looking for somebody to sew with, maybe you can make a date with somebody, you're both on the Discord server, or you can both show up at the same time or already be there. There are audible rooms that you can join. It's like room 1, 2, and 3. You hop in the room, turn on your camera, turn on your phone, and up to 25 of you can be in that room at one time, absolutely free. And you can have your own Zoom call while you're sewing, and then I don't
yeah,
have to be there to host it.
yeah. I think that's genius. It honestly, and it's really cool to be able, because I know people in the comments sometimes talk back and forth, and a lot of like frequent viewers know who they are, and they talk.
Yeah.
Nice to have a space where you can talk all the time. If you're sewing at night, you can talk to your friend, um, Chris Morris and Colleen and all the people like that on there. So I think it's really cool that you can talk to your sewing friends that you see on the videos. And you
Yep.
don't have to put in your personal information if you don't want to.
That's right. That's right.
I think that was a really good question.
Yep.
Well, I personally don't have like a Discord like my own. Um, a lot of you guys know the guy who sews, Sean, and
Hmm.
then Pieces, Love, and Quilting, Courtney.
Courtney.
We all three. Sean kind of headed the project, but he wanted to make a Discord, and he thought instead of making a separate one for all of us, why don't we just all come together? So he made a Discord. It's all three of us, and we have people come in, and we have a list of fabric stores that we like, a list of long armors if you're looking for a long armor, questions of the day, stuff like that. But Sean's kind of been the leader on it, and he's been nice enough to make it a space for everyone to come hang out and talk. So
That's
it's not
awesome.
my Discord, but it's kind of like a nice co-op. We call it the Quilters Co-op. So I
I
am
love that.
terrible with links, but it looks like Colleen put one in the chat. So thank you, Colleen. I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, I don't know a lot about how to work in Discord. I just kind of send pictures or talk a little bit, and I've been super busy with my mom. And it has kind of just started, so I haven't really been as active as I would like to be. Um,
Mhm.
let's see if I saw another question come in. Let's see. Question. Here we go. Do you cut all your fabric before you do your project or cut as you go?
Depends on the project. Depends on the project. I think sometimes it's a little bit easier to cut it all up front. I think most of the time that's what I usually do, but sometimes I'm just gonna make the project a block at a time, and if I'm gonna make it a block at a time, I'm just gonna cut what I need for the block.
Yeah. Well, and with your organization too, that makes it easy to kind of go as you go. Like it's all bundled together, so you don't get
Right.
overwhelmed. You
Yep,
stop and like go to something else.
that's right.
Um, Here's another one. Do you pre-wash or not? I had a terrible experience of completing quilt a navy white quilt and now it's navy light blue. Used color catchers and soaked and more color catchers, but after 6 times.
Mhm.
Do you pre-wash?
Nope, nope, I don't. I am completely. And my style of quilting is throw caution to the wind and hope it works.
Yeah.
Take all the shortcuts, just get it done. Like, I want to be fast. I, I want to be faster, but I want to be fast. I want to, I just want to work on it and I don't care about it. My honest opinion is the fabric colors that I pick are all going to work well together. And if the quilt does bleed, which I've really never had a problem with any of my quilts bleeding, but if a quilt does bleed, then it's gonna still go together because the blue that I chose for it is just gonna bleed onto something else, and hopefully it'll still look okay. It's all the same.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And if it's not fine, you can still cover up with it, and it's still functional.
Well, it also takes away the magic that is quilt crinkle. If you pre-wash,
Yes.
then where's the quilt crinkle magic at the very end? Like that's the fun
Yep.
part. Voila. My thing is if it bleeds the same as you, that's it's not a huge deal. But if there's no crinkle because I pre-washed it, I've missed out on all of the fun because I really do love crinkly quilts. And I
Yes.
don't like the headache of having to pick out and dry and iron. Ironing is the big thing as to why I don't like pre-washing because I hate to iron. I just really
Yep.
don't like. So that's another added area where you have to iron. Sometimes you can be like, I can skip this step and no one will really know. But with pre-washing, you have to sit there and iron huge cuts of yardage or whatever, and that's just not a game that I want to play. No way. My
Well,
mother
and also
pre-washed.
when it's time to, your mom's a pre-washer.
My mother-in-law, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When it's time to quilt, I wanna make it. I don't wanna put it in the washer, and I don't wanna put it in the dryer and then wait for it to come out, and also, every time I buy a yard of fabric, I don't wanna put it in the washer, I wanna put it on my shelf, and so
Yep.
I'm a lazy quilter. Well, that's my title. I am a lazy quilter.
I don't think that's lazy. I think that's proactive. You're ready to jump right in. You're ready to get it going.
Eh,
And you're also,
yeah,
I mean, who doesn't love having fabric be something to look at? I like it when it's stiff and it's easier to cut that way. Even when you wash and you iron it, if you don't starch it, it's loose and there's strands everywhere. And my
yeah,
mother-in-law helped me with my first quilt. I made a Daniel Tiger quilt for my son. And she was like, took me along on her process and I was just grateful. I'm like, I will go with you on this process. I knew nothing about quilting, but I knew that pre-washing felt so unnatural. I was like, is this really what quilters do? I don't think this feels right. And she was like, I pre-wash everything. And as I, got into more of my YouTube Academy, I was like, there are other non pre-washers. I think I
mhm,
belong to that tribe. So there it works for whatever you prefer, that's fine. Some people prefer to do it. I'm with Becca. I would rather just jump right in and either wrap up my fabric and put it away or cut right into it.
that's
I
right.
do not like to iron. Let's
Well,
do a couple more questions and then I think I have to go hang out with my family for a little bit. I'm sure you have things that you'd like to do on your Saturday. I thank you again for spending the time with us and letting
oh,
me pick
absolutely.
your brain, get to know you more. I've had a blast. I've had so much fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
I can see if there's one or two more questions, and if not, um, we can head on out. Let's see. This is what someone said. It's not necessarily a question, but do not use color catchers with batiks as they will always bleed due to the way they are made, but love them for other fabrics.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
Uh,
absolutely right. There was a question from Tiffany a while ago that said, It was before the last one that you read that said, "Do you want to build your stash or build your skill?" Both. I'm looking through the chat too to see if there's anything in here.
Oh, here we go. I didn't even see that. There's so
There it
it's
is.
like
Yep.
ding, ding, ding,
Yep.
ding.
Yep. It keeps going. Do you want to build your stash or build your skill? Both. Next.
Yeah, both. I feel like my husband would prefer me not to build my stash anymore. And talking of the hoarders group, I feel like maybe I'm close to being on there. I told myself I have an armoire, and it was our family armoire. It had a TV in it growing up, and my parents, when we moved into this house, were like, "Do you want this armoire?" And I'm like, "That would be perfect for my fabric." Yeah, and I set a boundary for myself. As soon as fabric does not fit into this armoire, then I have enough. Then I need to stop buying fabric. And I'm pushing the boundaries on this. I mean, I'm almost to the point where if I open up these doors and add anything else, I'm gonna have to like do the shove it closed before things start falling out. So I love building my stash, but I would really like to build my skill too. Like collage quilting would be really fun to learn, and portrait painting. That
Oh
is kind
yeah.
of the same thing, but not. I would love to do that. It looks really, really fun, but I just don't. I do not possess those skills yet. I need a lot of work to get into there. Um, but I think that's all of the questions that I've seen. And if we missed any, I can go back through the comments and answer any. But I just want to thank you for agreeing to do this. I had a blast. I feel like
Mhm.
I got to know you a lot better. And I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me on a Saturday and
Sure.
answer questions, quilty questions.
It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate that you extended the invite. Thank you so much. I am looking forward to doing that block series. So I'll reach out offline and we'll set up a date where you can join me over on my stream. And we'll put together a block together one Friday night.
Yes, I would love to do that. Thank you for soon sending me an invite. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm glad to
Yeah.
have another quilt friend. I feel like, we're
Yay.
pals. We went through a technology crisis. We've laughed together. We've exposed vulnerability. We are on track to be great quilt friends. So thank
There
you
you
again.
go.
I've
There
had a
you
great
go.
time. Thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys very soon. And yeah, I now it's the awkward point of like, no, you hang up. No, you hang up.
I always find the best way to end a live is to say, well, you can't go home, but you can't stay here because I'm the end of the live.
You guys heard it. You heard it from Becca. So I'm gonna do the awkward going to the end stream button. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your weekend. If you're in Tornado Alley like I am, stay safe because last night was a doozy. But all right, bye guys. Have a good
See you
quilt
later.
Saturday. Bye.